Okay, so let's work on the warm-up. It says read the word problem, look at the student's work and solution, find the mistake, then solve the problem correctly. Raquel solved the problem on the right. Her teacher told her to review her work. She thinks that her teacher is wrong. Can you find the mistake Raquel's teacher is seeing? So let's look at the mistake. So we know that we have 5,551 divided by 18. Actually, there's a missing decimal. So let's go ahead and write that correctly. So you have 55 and 51 hundredths divided by 1 and 8 tenths. So let's go ahead and kick the ball to the wall. So that means this is going straight up here. So if you look at it, you could see the mistake that she did not kick the ball to the wall. So then she needed to bring it up here, not there. So let's go ahead and do this. So 18 into 55. Let's try 3 like she has it. So that's 24. So that's 54. Remainder is 1. Bring down the 5. 18 into 15 is 0. So that is 0. 15. Bring down the 1. So 18 into 151. We're going to go with 8. Let's see if that's correct. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 4 is 14. So here your remainder is going to be 7. So if we wanted to continue dividing, we could continue dividing, but if you notice here, it did go, she did put the decimal in the wrong place, and even her multiplication is wrong. So, division is wrong, sorry. So your answer should have been 30.84, and it continues on. So her mistake was to not move the decimal in the divisor. Okay, so yesterday we've been doing composite figures for 2 days, but we've been having issues with trying to find those missing sides. Now, whenever you have a composite figure, yes, you do need to cut the sides. So we have this, what we need to do. Now, remember, when you have base and height, so whenever you have base and height, they do have to be perpendicular to each other. So if this is a base, then the height needs to be perpendicular to each other, which is on the side. And perpendicular, all it means is that it creates a right angle. So we need to remember that. So those are the 2 dimensions you're going to need for any shape that you have, except for circle, because circle doesn't have sides. So this is going to be something that you need to look for. So just don't multiply any numbers that you're given. So if you look at your notes here, we have x and y. So we need to find the value of x. Now, we already cut this right here. So if we cut this here, that means I'm not doing the whole thing as 22. This is not 22 anymore. So we need to figure that out. So look at this shape right here, this shape. So if it's a rectangle, remember opposite sides are congruent. So we're going to go ahead and put this as 6. So if this is 6, that means I need to subtract 6 from 22. So if I have 22 minus 6, that's going to give us 12 minus 6 is 6, and then you have 1. So that means x is going to equal to 16. Now, in this case, x is 16 because we cut that out, so that no longer applies. 22 no longer applies. Now, let's look at y. Now, y, if you notice, again, we actually have this part here, but we really don't need it right now because we're going to go ahead and find this measurement. But for y, we still need to find out what the measurement is. So let's look at y. Now, if you notice, y is part of this. So if I cut it the shape this way, then I mean I'm cutting into the 15, so this side is no longer 15. This side is no longer 15. So now if this is no longer 15, I know this part right here, according to this rectangle, if that's 11, then this is going to be 11 too. And again, opposite sides are congruent when you're talking about rectangles. So if that's 11, then the whole thing was 15, then you need to subtract 15 minus 11 to give you 4. So that means y will equal to 4. So what shapes did I see? I saw the shapes of a rectangle. So they're rectangles, both of them. And what is the area of the figures? So we're going to go ahead and find the area. So I'm going to use just one of the missing measurements that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this shaded region. So I'm going to do this rectangle right here. So my dimensions are going to be 16 times 11. So this is going to be area equals base and height. Area equals 16 times 11. And 16 times 11, oops. So that's 16, 0, 16, 6, 7, 1. So that means this area is 176. Now let's look at the other one. Now the other one, we're going to do the same thing. We're finding the area of this part. Okay, and it doesn't include that line here because we just did it to find the missing y. So this is a rectangle too. And remember, this you will need the 15 because we're looking at the whole thing. We're looking at all this side. So in this case, we're going to do 15 times 6. So 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 3 is 9. So then that means this is going to be 90. So all you have to do now is find the total area. And the total area, what you need to do is you're going to add 176 plus 90. So that's 6. This is going to be 16 and 2. So the area is 266. And since we don't have units in here, we're going to say square units. Okay, now in number 2, it says to try this, but I'm going to go ahead and go over it still. So make sure you're copying all the notes because this is your notes for your composition book. So again, I'm going to go ahead and divide this into 3 parts. So I have one part here and one part there. Okay, now it's asking for the missing side, which is x. So if you notice, we have x here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I know, if you notice, this whole side should be the same as this whole side. But since they cut it off, that means that we're missing this part. So all we have to do is look at the other parts that we have already. So I have 5 here and 11 here. So I need to make sure that this side, all this side right here, measures 28. So knowing that, all I have to do is do 28 minus 5, because you have that 5 here. So that's going to be 23. And then 23 minus 11, which is that's going to be 12. So that means that x is going to be 12. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and find the area. So they're all rectangles. So I'm going to show the work inside, but I'm going to do it with different colors. So this first figure, I need the dimensions of 5 and 14. So 5 times 14, so 14 times 5, that's 20. 5 times 2, it's 70. So that means this is 70. Okay. Now, the next one, we have this dimension, but we also need this dimension. Well, they didn't ask us for that missing side, but we could find it because those are your base and height. That creates a, those are two lines that are perpendicular, so it creates a right angle. So what we're going to do, because this is 14 and then we have 2, we only need this part. So if the whole thing is 14, but we only need this part, that means I'm subtracting 14 minus 2, and this is going to be 12. So basically, this is a square. So all I have to do to find that is 12 times 12. And that's going to give us 144. So now we have a rectangle that's 70, a square that's 144, and now all we're doing is the last one. So because this is 14, this other side is going to be 14. So we're going to go ahead and do that math. So all we have to do is 14 times 11. And this is going to give us 14. That is 0, 14. So that's going to be 154. So this shape is 154. So now all I have to do is add up what's circled. So we're going to add those up. So 144 plus 154. I'm going to add those two. That's 8, 9, and 2. And then we're going to go ahead and add 70. So that's 8, 9 plus 7 is 16. 2 plus 1 is 3. So that means my area is 368. And again, no units, so it's going to be square units. Now, the last one is similar to what we did yesterday, only the dimensions are different. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and try this. And this will be your exit ticket out the door. So make sure that you're showing it on a sheet of paper, on a card, or something in order for me to give you credit for it. So go ahead and try this, and good luck. Remember, you do need to do that Google form first, and you have to show me that you completed it in order for you to do the practice. And the practice is just 3 problems. So make sure you're working on that once you're done watching the video. And good luck on this.